Route Bézieux, mesdames et messieurs, merci d'accueillir Monsieur le Premier ministre de Pologne, Monsieur Mateusz Morawiecki. Dzień dobry, Monsieur le Premier ministre. Et merci à Geoffroy Route Bézieux, dont le polonais semble fluide, notamment. Monsieur le Premier ministre, soyez bienvenu. Je vous invite à un peu de silence, s'il vous plaît, dans la salle. S'il vous plaît, mesdames et messieurs. S'il vous plaît. Merci. Nous laissons la parole à Monsieur le Premier ministre de Pologne, s'il vous plaît. C'est à vous.
Thank you. Madam Prime Minister, President of MEDEF, ladies and gentlemen, I have come to France not only at the time of the greatest security crisis in decades. I have also arrived shortly after a huge fire devastated Gironde. Polish firefighters stood the fight against the flames next to the French firefighters, and together we managed to stop the fire. There is a tiny little lesson to be taken from this happening, lesson learned for all of Europe. Either we come out of the crisis side by side, or we all plunge into it separately. I believe Madam Prime Minister referred to this, speaking about collective responsibility within our countries. I couldn't agree more, but I would add one additional dimension, which is within the European Union. We also have to address all those challenges of nowadays collectively. We need also a paradigm shift. Well, first, the pandemic, later the economic crisis, then a brutal war in which Russia wants to crush Ukraine, and now the risk of energy and food crisis looms on the horizon. These are the four horsemen of the apocalypse of our time. We are not dealing with an ordinary crisis. If we want to move forward, we must change the paradigm of action. The pandemic has taught us many things. One of the most crucial lessons was the importance of one time the only state that has own debt is an active state. The same applies, I'm not so sure if it's good for the ears of the entrepreneurs, but I'm sure that this is the case today. The same applies to the European Union. Either we cooperate as Europe and we unfurl the sails, or we turn into a ghost ship. For too long, the low price of Russian gas has been the most important value for many countries. Not for France, but for many of our neighbors. The real price for cheap gas today is the blood of Ukraine. Europe has learned how risky it is to rely on unreliable partners for energy issues and for many other issues as well. Germany, our common neighbor, can see perfectly today that their Ostpolitik has become Lostpolitik. If all of Europe followed Germany's vote, then not only Nord Stream 1, but also Nord Stream 2 have been launched many months ago, and European nuclear power plants would have been closed. At least German power plants would have been closed. Europe's dependence on Russian gas, which Putin uses as a tool of blackmail against all of us, against the entire continent, would have been almost irreversible. According to research, it takes an average of 66 days to change a habit. That's for people. What about decades of business patterns? Getting out of addiction is always painful. But if we want freedom, security, and prosperity, we must break our dependence on Russia. This is why I believe that the attitude towards Russia's war is a test of whether we really have democratic values at heart. Another Vladimir Ilyich Lenin once famously said that the capitalists will sell them a rope with which they are going to hang them. The capitalists, which is you. So don't sell a rope to Mr. Putin, because there is a danger that then Mr. Putin and Russia and other bad guys of this world will use it against us. It is becoming more and more evident that the main directions of expansion of French companies in recent years have not met the expectations. German companies opting for Poland would have made one of the best economic choices possible. According to research by the German Chamber of Commerce and Industry, the willingness to reinvest in Poland among companies is around 95%. Could anyone here quote at least one country where French companies are approaching such performance? I'm not sure, maybe yes, but Polish performance is really very, very good. Poland is a European growth leader. We are the second fastest growing country in the world in terms of GDP growth since 1990, right after China. Polish growth over the past 30 years is not an economic miracle. It is the fruit of hard work of Polish employees. But also French companies are also contributing to this growth. And I'm going to thank you very much for this. Today, thank you. Today, over 1,300 French companies benefit from the Polish market, political and economic stability, good infrastructure, and qualified employees. If France cares about an economically sovereign Europe, and I know that the strategic autonomy is in the heart of the French president, Poland is nowadays one of the safest harbors for investment. Over the years, Europe was divided into East and West. I think this was the president of MEDEF half an hour ago who very nicely said that we have to breathe with two lungs, the Eastern and the Western lung of Europe, which is also a huge, fantastic opportunity for stronger growth into the future for the entire Europe, entire European Union. So today, the only division that is valid, should be valid, is between countries focused on peace and development and those focused on war. Today is one way out of the crisis. It is the way of close economic cooperation, joint projects, and joint investment. And I fully subscribe to what Madam Prime Minister said. Many of the investments should focus around climate change and climate change-related projects, energy efficiency, because these, at the same time, are appropriate responses to the challenges of the world. If Europe wants to count in the global race, and I hope we want to count in the global race, we cannot remain just the old continent. We have to be the young, vibrant continent. We have to become a continent of new investment, new technologies, including nuclear technologies. The world, this is why also Poland was always supporting France and French nuclear industry in Brussels while all the discussions took place around the sources of energy which could be appropriate, allowable in the context of industrial policy, energy policy of the European Union. Ladies and gentlemen, the world has sailed so long with favorable winds that it has forgotten what it is like to move against the wind. Poland and Poles have developed a gene for functioning in even the most difficult conditions. Today we are here to convince everyone of the hard realism. This is the only way we can build a new post-Putin order. And let me also remind all of us how difficult the situation is beyond our eastern border. Our Ukrainian friends are fighting not only for their freedom, security, peace, and prosperity, but also for ours. Poland has opened our gates and our hearts for millions of Ukrainian refugees. And we are ready to do so into the future. But the best way how we can help them is to create conditions for them to revert back to their husbands, brothers, and sons fighting for freedom, ours and theirs. And they fight with lion hearts. They are brave hearts. And we have to support them. If we do not support them, it means we betray them. And Poland and France never betrays our friends. Betraying them would mean also betraying freedom and brotherhood. And these are very important ideas and values in the hearts of Poland, Polish people, and French people, I believe. Ladies and gentlemen, Madam Prime Minister, dear President, thank you for inviting me here. I also happen to believe that we live in a critical moment, critical geopolitical moment, when we all, maybe the European Union as a whole, fall into a sleep, geopolitical slumber. And we have to wake up from this geopolitical slumber. One for all for one. This idea is well known in the country of Musketeers, I'm sure. And this is why I believe that if there are any tiny little things which differ, which create some bones of contention, which differ us, we have to set them aside. And we have to focus on key priorities. And key priorities today is to support Ukraine, preserve democracy, preserve peace and prosperity and freedom for the entire European Union. Thank you very much.